Hi, everybody, and hello, Tirzah.
Hello, Carolyn.
It's always so good to be with you again. And I got to tell you couldn't have picked a more timely class. God in Disguise, Ancestral Healing for Apocalyptic Times. And indeed, we are in those. And
Sadly,
yeah. And I mean, it becomes more apparent by the minute, not by the day, by the minute.
it's true.
So I'm going to turn this over to you. Call me when you need me.
We'll see you on the other side.
You got it.
Okay, thanks, Carolyn. So, hello. Nico will just come to me. No slides needed right now as we introduce each other and hope that you will sign into the chat and give greetings. I so appreciate being shoulder to shoulder with Carolyn once again, as the times that we're living in are so harsh, as she said, increasingly harsh. We really need one another. And thanks to each one of you who are here live, our fellow journeyers here today, and also to those of you who are listening in your own time. We are all together forming a network, a web work of consciousness around the globe. So please do chat in your greeting if you'd like. Let us know where in this spinning world you are zooming in from. I'd love to hear. I'd love to meet you. If I don't know you, I know a lot of old friends are here today. In this course, we are going to be looking backwards into our ancestral histories and forward to those who come after us for the purpose. This is our kavanah, our intention for the purpose of clearing and lifting karmic patterns that arose from family histories, from trauma histories, left unprocessed, which are still shaping us and stopping us unnecessarily from being our most radiant selves, especially at this time of world history. We are needing our radiant selves. So, like I said, and I will say it again and again, we need each other. Even on a virtual platform such as this, we can feel each other. And there's a synergy that we bring that empowers all of us even more to go greater distances together spiritually than we can alone. And that's because when we come together intentionally, mindfully, our consciousness forms a web. So let's actually now we'll go to the next slide. Nico is our host today. Nico, next slide, please. Together, we form a global web, a web of consciousness. For the purpose of healing, each of us is like a jewel of light, as in the myth of Indra's net that you may have heard of. That each of us is a jewel on this massive net that reflects each other, and into the magnificent web that we form, we receive what the Zohar, the mystic wisdom of Judaism tells us are like drops of divine dew, of wisdom and understanding and insight that you'll receive here to nourish us and help us thrive. So each of us is reflecting the wisdom of each other that magnifies our own intention, it magnifies our own wisdom. I want you to just imagine reaching out your arms right now across the miles and placing them on the shoulders of someone in Ashland, Oregon, or Australia, Sydney, Australia, or Hong Kong, or Toronto, or Tehran. Each of us connected, interconnected, and strengthened by each other's glowing presence. Okay, that's just a beautiful image I have. Let's go to the next slides. I want to give you an overview of the course, and we have 4 modules. It's a brief but deep dive into archetypal and spiritual psychology, into environmental science, into our ancestral healing. Let's go to the next one, and you'll see that each and every one of the modules, each of the 4 modules, it reflects one of the elements. We're going to start with fire today. And we're going to start with a rebalancing practice. It's an embodiment practice. I call it a rebalancing practice that brings us back into balance in that, for that element. We'll be learning teachings from all kinds of ancient wisdom traditions, indigenous wisdom, ancient alchemy, alchemical science, of course, Jungian psychology and modern neuroscience, as well as environmental wisdom. And all of these come with a focus to heal our ancestral lineages. Above all, if you've studied with me before, you know that change and transformation for me comes when we make this material relevant and generative. So we'll have reflection and journaling time. Please bring your journal. I have brought my journal to every class, and your cup of tea or your glass of water. Remember that we like to keep our nervous system regulated, because each module will have a guided journey where the deep change happens. That's where the deep change happens. We can lecture and we can talk forever, but the deep changes happen when we go into our final meditation. And then, of course, we'll call back Carolyn for a few minutes, and we'll have Q&A and comments and hear your wisdom. Okay, thank you, Nico. Back to me. So we are in a moment of great change right now, as we all know, wherever you're tuning in from. Great uncertainty, and therefore great discomfort. The backdrop of this course is indeed the discomfort that we're in. The temperatures rising on our shared planet, the heat that's being applied by autocratic leaders to states, to universities, to onto refugees, and the hatred, the burning, the feverishness. You hear all the fire metaphors, but it's true. We are burning with the feverishness of fear and that comes from hatred and discrimination that's rising for immigrants and marginalized groups. The angry heat of retribution and retaliation on enemies and allies alike. I'm sorry to go into this, but it is so prevalent. It's so dominant in our news, and it's impossible to not feel this heat rising, because these radical changes are unfolding, and they're changing the geopolitics, the geopolitical landscape of our world. We don't know what lies ahead with these unrelenting leaders and unrelenting wars. But the wise sages, that's what we're going to be tapping in this course, the wise sages of history, have always taught that the more drastic the outward changes in the outer world, the more forced inward we are to tap the inner wells. We're forced inward to see more clearly and to hear and to learn from the deep wisdom within. So as the poet Theodore Roethke wrote, "In a dark time, the eye begins to see." In a dark time, the eye begins to see. I meet my shadow in the deepening shade. I meet my shadow in the deepening shade. And we're here together, my friends, to open the inner eye, to study the inner shadows together, to anchor ourselves to the ancient teachings, and to take in the wisdom of the natural world around us. These are going to inform us and strengthen us and give us support for the road ahead. So we embark on our journey guided by the 4 natural elements of the earth plane, beginning with fire. And each element, as you know already, is itself an archetype. It's a universal pattern. An archetype is a universal pattern that cuts across all cultures and ages. It's always here with us. It's inside of us. We are made of these elements. these archetypes, and they're in the world around us. Archetypes are the deep givens that shape our lives in the most foundational ways. And today we're going to examine fire in our bodily systems, in our psyches and temperament, also in our families and in the world around us. So every wise medicine person, from Chinese to Ayurvedic to yogic medicine, all practitioners know that fire has to be kept in its right measure. We're going to be talking about that today. Every environmentalist knows that you can't just suppress fire or else it'll blaze out of control. Active, we want these elements to be active within us, active, healthy, and controlled in our control. So let's do a very quick imaginal exercise right now. I'd love for you to have your journal handy and your pen, or if you're using a device, please have that ready. And the rebalancing practice today helps to rebalance the fire within us to cool and calm our nervous system. So let's close or soften our eyes and sit back. You can also lie down for this. Soften your shoulders and the small muscles around your eyes and face. Let your belly loose. Kick off your shoes or open your belt if anything's too tight. And ask your deep self, ask your wise self, your unconscious mind, for a picture of your fire now. Ask your deep self for a picture of your fire now, an image or a sense of how your fire is today as you hear my voice right now, whatever day that is that you're listening in. What does your fire look like today? Is it a flickering candle? Is it a tiny ember? Is it a roaring bonfire or a fireplace or a forest fire? Or maybe it's smoldering because someone poured water or ashes on it. Maybe it's a spark that needs blowing on. Trust your image and see what comes. Whatever your image of fire is, you might want to jot it down, or you might also want to just sketch it and stay with it. Honor it. And now, when you're ready, draw a mental circle around your fire. In whatever form it's taking, with your mind's eye, draw a circle around your fire. Circumscribe your image. And within that ring, let all the forces and wind and water around you be still. Just let there be a hush of silence and stillness, so that this flame or flames, your fire, can be contained and healthy without roaring out of control and without being blown out or squelched or dampened. See yourself now illuminated, your eyes brightened, your mind brightened, your heart warmed, your belly nourished by this safe and warm ring of fire. You can imagine yourself reaching out toward the warmth of this flame and take it into your body now. This warmth, this eros. What part of you needs this beautiful living flame, this healing warmth, this healing fire most? Your mind, your heart, your belly, maybe your pocketbook. Reach out, take that warmth into the place that needs it most and put your hands on that place. I'm going to kindle a real, not imaginary fire right now, a candle for all of us, and make an invocation in my ancient tradition for the sake of unification, for the sake of healing all of our broken parts, all the broken parts within us, within our families, within our planet, our planetary community. We place ourselves in the presence of the source of fire, the source of all the elements, the source of all wisdom, behind the elements, behind the genius of our bodies that called us into this world at this time. We place ourselves in the presence of and open to the creative intelligence of which we are all a part. Holy power, we humbly face you. We thank you. We open to your wisdom. We ask that you shine your healing, warming light upon us as we embark on this journey. Please help us help you. Help us assist in this great tide of transformation that we're living through. With the fire bright, with our eyes closed now, we ask that the teachers and guides of all the ages, the elders and the guardians of all of our respective lineages, as well as our loving and wise ancestors and spiritual allies, be present with us to assist and bless our work, to keep our healthy fires lit and contained, protected, to keep us safe from discordant, distracting, nefarious energies, so that we can do the work that we have to do of healing ourselves, our families, and our planetary consciousness. This candle now represents the undying spirit, the eternal self, the ner tamid, the eternal light that lives inside of all of us. And if you're with me, you can say aho or amen, amen. Okay, great. Thank you all for lighting your inner candle and helping me light this group candle together with you. We'll take a breath and dive into the ancient wisdom today. And Nico, will you go to the next slide? Oh, no, you're on the right slide. Go back. Go back one, yes. So every archetype has two facets, two faces, and in our time together, containing study and ritual and guided meditation, we're going to come face to face with both sides of each element, the perils and the possibilities that each element provides. Today, we encounter the two facets of fire, the dangers of fire, as well as the potency for quantum spiritual healing. Next slide. I have to be careful with my name, Firestone. It's so implicit, and every day that I sign my name, I have to be careful. So here is a beautiful illustration of fire that is so warming. Fire is what? Fire is what? Fire, and by the way, it's great if you want to use the I think you're welcome to use the chat column, I believe. Is that true? Can people sign into the chat column just under comments? I think it is, right? Great. Thank you so much. That's great. And oh, I forgot to introduce Cerise, who is our wonderful course assistant. She's going to be helping out on the gathering page, on the discussion page, which is under myss.com, under your course link. You'll have a link for our discussion. I hope you'll all join us. And there we can ask questions and post our dreams, our comments, our wisdom, our artwork, etc. So fire is our passion. It's our creativity. It's our sexuality. It's our warmth and love. It's also, well, it's our anger. Our fire can become rageful and vengeful and destructive, as we see happening in the public domain. Leaders are using their fire in perverse ways. So we want and need fire in our world, the fire of sun's warmth and the fire that clears and cleanses debris. But we want and need healthy fire in its right measure and always contained. Notice the Hebrew letter in the bottom right. That is a shin, which looks like it's the mother letter. That is the shin, that is the fire letter. And you can see the flames flickering up on top. 3 prongs representing the various parts of us, the various parts of our flame. But human beings are always burning. If you think about it, you're probably sitting in a room right now that's around 70 degrees, or maybe you're sitting outside, but your body is burning at 98.6 or 95 to 99, somewhere in that range. Think about that. We're always burning. We want and need our fire, but containment and regulation are critical. Next slide, please. So in each of our modules, we're going to look at the element through the lens of our bodies and our health, our nervous systems, and then we're going to go to our family and community. What are our attitudes and beliefs and our social temperament? And then we're also going to look at planet and environment in the life and health of the natural world and the environment around us. And to look at what is fire in our ecosystem. And to do this, we're going to be drawing from ancient wisdom. Next slide. In particular, we're going to be drawing today from alchemy, and which is, some of you know, the medieval forerunner of chemistry. Comes from the early centuries, mostly in Europe, but also in the Middle East, based upon the idea that that human beings can transform and change metals, base metals such as lead, into gold. Now, next slide. Dr. Jung, Carl Jung. Sorry, before we do that, here is an actual picture of a restored alchemical laboratory. This comes from Prague. Ray Abalea provided this slide from her tour into an alchemical laboratory. We'll come back to this, but I just love this. It's so evocative. It's a beautiful laboratory where the alchemists did their transformative work. Next slide. Dr. Jung, in the 1950s, rediscovered the principles of alchemy, seeing that the alchemical process was a metaphor, a template for what we each go through toward becoming who we're meant to become. That's what he called the archetype of individuation. So all of the intricate alchemical processes were, for him, all metaphors of what we go through in the process of becoming conscious, radiant beings, becoming the gold, transforming the heavy metals, the heavy lead, the dross that we inherit from the world and from our ancestors, transforming it into the gold of consciousness. Next slide. one of the primary apparatuses of the alchemical process was the alchemical vessel. This was a sealed cauldron in which many of the stages of uh, of the alchemical process went through, um, and that's everything from uh, all the changes of distilling and containing and heat and turning the heat down and turning the heat up, and this becomes a great metaphor for us, because we, next slide, are the alchemical vessels in this process. We, that is you and me, my friends, our bodies, our minds, our nervous systems become the vessels in which we transform the heavy metals within us, which is what we are doing here in this course, transforming the fear, the anxiety, the shame, all of these heavy things that we have been feeling, that we have inherited from the world and from our ancestors, into the light of consciousness. Okay, back to me. Thank you so much. Thank you. So here's the thing. We're living in an inferno right now of rapid change and a lot of destruction. And the destruction of institutions, the destruction of norms, the erosion of values and things that we held so dear. And surviving this inferno depends upon a strong enough vessel, an alchemical vessel. That means that we have to be strong. This means that self-care is essential, because hopelessness and despair weaken our vessel. The metaphors of alchemy are alive right now. We are cooking. Our world is cooking. The heat is rising every single day, as Carolyn said, every hour. But everything changes and moves. And if our vessel is strong enough and we don't go down to despair and fear and hopelessness, this could be an intense rite of passage. An intense rite of passage during these apocalyptic times that we're moving through. We'll move, if we can stay strong and keep our vessel strong, we will move to the next stage of renewal and birth. Now, the alchemists understood this and they practiced it. So when we're out of balance, we might experience our fire becoming overwhelming, like in agitation or sleeplessness or anxiety. If we have too much fire, if we have too little fire, the Chinese medicine would say that makes us passionless, it makes us hopeless or apathetic, or, oh, I'm just going to tune it all out, lack of appetite, lack of energy. And importantly, an excess of fire that comes from a buildup of stress and worry that's not metabolized makes for inflammation. And inflammation, as we have learned in so many scientific studies, is at the root of most diseases. Inflammation is at the root of most diseases like Alzheimer's, cancer, all kinds of mental disorders and degenerative disorders such as Parkinson's. So let's go to the next slide now, please. Thank you. Surviving, okay, we'll go to this one. Surviving the inferno of rapid change and destruction depends upon a strong enough vessel. Okay, let's go to the next one. Here is my friend and teacher, Dr. Gabor Mate. He says, one of the things many diseases have in common is inflammation, acting as a kind of fertilizer for the development of illness. So this is fire out of control when our body gets so too overly warm and overly stressed. We've discussed that when people feel threatened, insecure, especially over an extended period of time, our bodies are programmed to turn on inflammatory genes. And this is something that we want to really be aware of, because that's the precursor for disease, which we don't want. Okay, so let's come back to me. Nico, thank you. So if stress causes inflammation in our nervous systems and bodies, in our personal ecosystem, when we move to our families and community, how does this element fire relate to our communities and our in-between people? So this can be warmth and eros. It can be loyalty. It can be ardor and enthusiasm and dedication. But when we lack self-awareness and we don't have strong vessels or healthy boundaries, or when we get overwhelmed and boil over with rage and anger, and that can be very scary. On the other hand, to say that all anger is bad is like saying all fire is bad. It's not true. We need fire. Like anger, there's a purpose for it. And the purpose is to cleanse, to clear away the old, to clear away old patterns, old debris. And as we're going to see, the indigenous people knew all about that. If you suppress fire, it's going to come back 10 times strength. So they said, don't suppress. But just like with anger, there is a kind of social hygiene, by which I mean good practices that help maintain health and prevent disease. The alchemists, the indigenous wisdom talked about the healthy way of managing fire. So what could that look like in terms of between people, between me and you, between you and your family, between you and your community? It's not to suppress our heat. It's not to be apathetic when things go wrong. It's not to be to damp down and pour water on our anger, but to do it right. Let's talk about that. Let's go to the next slide, please. Great. So here is one of my favorite guys. He comes from the early 1500s. This is Brother Bacon is his name. He's a British alchemist, and he spoke of the slow tending of the alchemical hearth. The slow tending. It takes a lot of patience to tend the hearth, the alchemical hearth, which is, we're really talking about, again, a metaphor for our inner fires, right? For our inner fires. And here he has 2 cauldrons, which is so symbolic. One is the cauldron of fire, and one is the cauldron of water. We'll be talking about this quite a bit. So what could this mean? What could it look like? I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see, are there any other people? Nico, is it possible to see? Okay, maybe people just aren't chatting in. I see Cerese's, but yeah, chat please. The slow tending, what could this be a metaphor for? What does it look like in your life? The slow tending of your inner fires in an alchemical way. And I'm going to take a sip of water right now because I need a little bit of, it's getting dry, so please join me. L'chaim, to life. Cheers. Really important to keep hydrated. What does it look like in your life to have the kind of social hygiene, as I call it sometimes, that is balancing the elements? So when we don't stuff down our anger and we don't wait for it to boil over and we don't get abusive with our language, it takes what? It takes regular clearing of our, I call it karma clearing, regular clearings with our friends and families in a friendly manner, just clearing the deck. By the way, Mom, when you said that XYZ remark, it really hurt my feelings. By the way, Susie, when you returned my sweater, it had a stain on it, and that felt really awful. Would you mind cleaning it for me? What would be another example? When you didn't respond to me, when I wrote you and told you that my dog died, I felt ghosted. I felt unimportant. So it's really okay to share with people that we care about these, to keep clearing the decks, so to speak, to keep the small fires going. I also highly recommend that we do, my husband and I do this all the time, when things start to build up between us, because we're also housemates, and co-parents and co-dog people, do counsel practice. That means we sit down and I share what's in my heart uninterruptedly. I hold a stone usually, and then I pass the stone to him, and he tells me what he heard me say, and he tells me what's in his heart. And I I try not to interrupt him. That's called counsel practice. There is such a thing as NVC, nonviolent communication, a whole school of that, which is very, very important that we learn those guidelines. What else? Meditation, silence, chanting, exercise. Those are all things I use to help slow tending of our inner flames. Okay, next slide. I'd like for you to take a minute right now in your journal and ask how the fire archetype showed up in your family of origin, your culture of origin, but especially in your family of origin, your home of origin. Remember 2 sides of every archetype: passion, ardor, loyalty, enthusiasm on the positive side, but there was also anger, frenzy, uncontrolled behaviors on the uncontrolled, uncontained fire side. So we're going to take a few minutes right now quietly to jot down in our journals or devices how the fire showed up as we were growing up, and then today.